Are you looking for a better way to automate your infrastructure as code? In this video, I'm going to introduce you to Spacelift, which you can use to automate your infrastructure as code pipelines. Once you have something like Spacelift set up, all you have to worry about is committing your code to your GitHub repository. After that, Spacelift will take over and provision your infrastructure for you. So you no longer have to worry about running Terraform plan and Terraform apply every time you make a change. A tool like Spacelift can also monitor your infrastructure for drift, sending you notifications if anything has changed or reconciling the changes itself. So let's get into how Spacelift works. If you're familiar with a tool like Terraform Cloud, Spacelift is very similar. However, it has the benefit of working with additional infrastructure as code tools. Basically what you do is you organize your infrastructure into these objects known as stacks. You can think of a stack as the combination of your source code and the current state of your infrastructure. You could have a stack for your production environment, a stack for your development environment, or whatever organization method works best for you. The best way to understand this is to actually see a stack in the Spacelift console itself, so let's go ahead and check that out. Alright, so this is the Spacelift dashboard, and probably where you're going to be spending most of your time in the dashboard is stacks. And basically you can think of a stack as a way to manage your infrastructure as code components. So you can see I have 5 different stacks here. I have a production stack, I have one for managing my ECR components, this is my image registries, I have an EKS stack for managing my Kubernetes clusters, I got a Lightsail stack for some Lightsail servers that I'm working on, and then I actually have a stack to manage my other stacks. And I'll go ahead and show you how you can set these up. It's very easy, and you can even manage it using Terraform itself. But first I want to get through the concept of what a stack is. So you can see there is a bunch of different columns, and it gives you all the information that you would need to know about your stack. So you can see that this one is in the state finished, and then this one is unconfirmed. You can also see that we have other things like drift detection here. And basically what it's trying to tell you is the current state of your Terraform code. So if we go into one of these unconfirmed ones, I'll just go into my production stack. And here it gives you all the different times that your Terraform code is run. So you can see that this Terraform code has been run twice. This first one was probably when I first committed the code and I ran and provisioned my resources. And then we have a second run here in the unconfirmed state. And basically, I probably made a few changes. You can see it actually tells you right here. I added 2 resources, and this is what the change is. So if you go into it, it's actually sitting here waiting with the Terraform plan. And you can read over the Terraform plan, and basically it's telling me it's going to create 2 different servers. And if you just hit confirm, it's going to go ahead and create those servers. So right now it's doing the Terraform apply. So great, it's just going to go through here and create the servers. Let's just speed up the video a little bit. And you can see that it was able to create those different resources. And if I just go back to my stacks, you can see it's now in the finished state. And if we go to my AWS account, you can see the 2 different servers it spun up. So that's essentially how you work with Spacelift. Now I'm going to get into how you can set this up yourself using a GitHub repository. I'll make sure to link mine in the description below so you can use my code examples and sort of learn how to use Spacelift using Terraform. So now you want to get started with Spacelift yourself. Let's talk about what you need to do to set up your account. Now, the first thing that I recommend you do is set up your cloud integration. So you just go down here to cloud integrations, and then you can set up an integration and you'll have different choices. So it's sort of cloud agnostic here. You can use AWS, Azure, and GCP currently. So if you want to set up AWS, all you would have to do is click here and then just fill in some details here, and then just take this little snippet and create an IAM role in your AWS account. I'll make sure to link the documentation that goes over how to do this in detail. Once your cloud integration is set up, it should show up here, and then you're ready to create your stacks. Now there's two different ways you can create your stacks. You can do it through ClickOps by hitting this Create Stack button, or you can actually use Terraform to create your stacks. I'm going to go ahead and do it the ClickOps way, but at the end of the video, I will discuss how you can do it using Terraform. So let's go ahead and hit Create Stack, and I'm just going to give my stack a name of Demo, and I'll hit Continue. Now we're going to connect it to our source code. So mine is hosted on GitHub in my repository called Spacelift. You can choose which branch you want, so you could actually build off of different branches. I'm just going to use the main branch, and then it asks you for your project root. If you don't specify this, it's going to use the root of the repository. However, my code is in this demo folder, so that's what I'm going to specify here. Just put in demo and hit continue. And here's where you specify your vendor. So I'm using Terraform code. So I'm just going to choose OpenTofu/Terraform. And it actually gives you the option of which version you use. So I'm just going to specify Terraform FOSS, but OpenTofu would be compatible with my code. So it doesn't really matter which one I choose. There's a couple different options here. I would say the most important one is to have Spacelift manage your state. And this is just going to save you the hassle of having to manage your state yourself. So this is one of the benefits of going with a cloud solution. So let's go ahead and hit create and continue. And here's some additional options like setting up hooks so you can run scripts before or after applies. You can attach policies as well as set up notifications. We're just going to skip that right now, hit continue. And here are some of the different options that you'll want to go over. I'll just try to explain some of the more important ones that you're more likely to run into. This first one here, administrative. So if this is going to be a stack that can create or manage other stacks, then you'll want to make sure that this is turned on. I'm not going to actually create stacks using this one, so I can leave it turned off. Another one you may want to have is auto deploy. And this is really convenient if you don't want to actually read the Terraform plan and hit the apply button. You can have it automatically create your infrastructure resources as soon as that commit gets merged in. I'm going to leave that off for now as I want us to be able to read the plan. But one that you may want to enable for most of your stacks is deletion protection. So this will just prevent the stack from being deleted. So let's go ahead and hit that, save and continue. And a few more options. We can just hit skip to summary and this should be good enough. And you can go ahead and change anything if you missed a setting, or you can just go ahead and hit confirm. Once you've done that, you should have your first stack. Now, if you want to run this immediately, you can just hit this trigger button and basically it's just going to look at your code, but you could also have this trigger just by doing a commit. And I'll actually do that for the next one, but for this one, this triggered run should be good enough. All right, and we get our first error, and that is actually because I skipped to the summary without fully setting up the stack. But that's all right. I just wanted to show you how you could do it this way. So if you just go back, this is our stack. And if you go here into the settings of the stack, at any point you can add your integrations. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach my cloud integration with my AWS account. I have one that I created called Spacelift. I probably should have called it AWS or something like that, but this will work. And then I'm going to hit attach here. So that should be good. If I go back to my stack and hit trigger, this next run should complete successfully. And you can see the plan has come back with 2 resources to add, and it's just waiting for me to confirm if I want to create these. And of course, If I had auto deploy on, these would create by themselves, but I like being here so I can read the plan and then press the button if it's actually the stuff I want to create. All right, so it is done creating, and if I just go back, you can actually see the different resources that it created. It created server 1, server 2, and if I click on any of them, it'll give me the details of it. So good for visualizing the stuff that you created. All right, so let's now trigger a change by committing some new code to my GitHub repository. So I'm going to make a really simple change here. I'm just going to go and change the instance count from 2 to 3. Let's go ahead and add this, make a commit, and then push this change up. Once that's done, I should be able to go, and you can see Spacelift is actually preparing it already. And if I just check my GitHub repository, you can see the status is in here as well as pending, and you can see that it has triggered Spacelift. So it has a nice integration with GitHub. If I go to details, you can see it links us to Spacelift, and that just brings us back up here. If we have a look at the completed plan, you can see that it is adding one additional server known as Demo 3. So the plan is complete. I like that change. I'm going to go ahead and confirm it, and it's going to go through and actually create that new server for us. And while this is applying, you can see it gives you lots of information about the actual change that was made. You can see it was from this GitHub commit and actually links you right there. And you can see in code the actual change I made. And if I go ahead and check AWS, you can see all the servers that we've created so far, including the 3 production servers that we just created using that stack. All right, so now that we've covered sort of the basic workflow of how you can work with stacks and create infrastructure with Spacelift, let's get into one of my favorite features of Spacelift, and that is the drift detection component. So drift detection is very important when you're working with infrastructure because you want to know if and when your infrastructure drifts from your Terraform state. So this is very important, especially in production environments. Sometimes people go in there by hand and change things. You want to know about that right away and have it fixed. So the way you do this is you go to scheduling within your stack, and then you can actually create a schedule here. And I'm going to create a schedule for drift detection, and I'm going to have it run every 10 minutes here. So every 10 minutes, it's going to check this stack for drift, and then it's either going to notify us either through Slack or just with a message on the main dashboard, or you can actually have it reconcile the drift and run a plan for you, and then you can just apply that plan once you've had a look at it. So I'm going to keep the reconcile off because I just sort of want it to show up in our dashboard. We'll just have it like this. I'll go ahead and hit create. And the other thing to mention here is if you want to use the drift detection feature, you need to set up your own worker pool. So you can see I get this message that the stack is using an unsupported public worker pool. What you actually need to do is use a private worker pool. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up for my stack here. I'm going to go to settings, and it's under behavior. And instead of use the public worker pool, I'm going to set it to private worker pool. And this, of course, is a feature you can set up when you first create your stack. I just chose to do it after through the settings. Now, one thing to mention is you'll actually have to create the private worker pools if you want to use them. I'll link some documentation on how you can do that. Basically, you configure it here under worker pools, and then you can either have them run in something like Docker, EC2, or on a Kubernetes cluster. I have mine running on a Kubernetes cluster that I installed using Helm, and it was really simple. Just a single Helm install command got it running. Now, one more thing to mention before we test out our drift detection is that the private worker pools, you'll need at least the Starter Plus plan And here you can see you get one private worker. So that's the one I'm on, and that's the way I'm able to get the private worker pools for my drift detection. Let's now go ahead and test this drift detection. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. And the next thing we'll need to do is create some drift in our cluster. So let's just pretend I'm your average developer here, going into the system and creating a little bit of chaos. I'll just take one of these demo servers, go to manage, and let's just change a tag. So I'll change demo to test. And now all we have to do is wait around 10 minutes and the drift detection should find out and notify us. All right, so I gave it some time there, and I notice in my Slack channel, my Spacelift drift detection has been notifying me that it's detected drift in the system. It's detected it on demo stack, which we've just enabled drift detection on. And you can see it was on our Lightsail server instance number 0. So if you go back to stacks, you can see right there, you get your drift detected. And if we go in there, we can actually just trigger a run, and it's going to redo the Terraform plan. And then I can choose to do my Terraform apply to remove the drift. Now you could automate this by having reconcile on, so it would automatically do the plan. And you could also have reconcile plus auto deploy to automatically correct drift if it comes in. We can see the plan is done, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit confirm. And this is going to go ahead and apply the Terraform and fix everything that has been drifted. All right, so the apply is done, and we can see that the drift has been fixed and that tag has been reapplied. All right, so now before we end this video, I just want to cover a few more things that I didn't get a chance to go over in detail in this video, but I think it's pretty relevant for a lot of the people that want to use Spacelift. So another feature of Spacelift is you can host your own Terraform modules through this Terraform registry. So if you have your own modules, you can put them up here so they can be used by your stacks. Another thing you can do is use spaces. You can see right here, I just have the root space, and this is going to be fine for your smaller teams, smaller organizations. But if you're in a larger organization, you'll want to create multiple different spaces. And this is how you can have limited admins that have admin access of certain stacks, certain things in your Spacelift account that don't have basically root access. So it's just a way of sort of delegating permissions, delegating permissions and limited access to certain resources in Spacelift. Speaking of resources, let's take a look at this resources tab. And this is all the resources that my stacks have created. So you can see there is 2 different views. You can use the new resource view, which is what I'm using. And depending on when you're watching this video, you might still have access to this old view. It helps you visualize what you have created using Spacelift. So here are my 3 demo servers. I got 2 production servers. I have 3 ECR registries. Really great for helping visualize your different resources. If we go back to the new view, you can see I can visualize the resources here. And I can just click on any of them. So here's one of my servers, and it gives me the exact details that I would want to know about these servers. Great information to have here. Okay, let's check out one more thing here, and that will be policies. And when it comes to policies, you have a lot of control of what happens in Spacelift. I just have 2 simple policies here for notifications. So I have my drift detection one, and just a basic notification for any infrastructure as code changes. So this will notify me in Slack, but you could have policies for who can actually approve changes to stacks and things like that. It uses the open policy agent, and you configure them all in Rego. So if you're in a organization that is trying to introduce policy as code, Spacelift supports that through their policies. So one thing I want to leave everyone with is my GitHub repository that has all the code that you saw in this video, plus some additional things. So one thing that we went over was creating stacks manually through the UI, but you can actually do it programmatically using code. And if you want to have a look at how I did that and how I do it, you can go into this stacks folder and just go to stacks. And basically, this is how I have everything set up to create my own stacks. Now, the best way to go ahead and set this up is by using the Spacelift documentation. So I'll make sure to link that in the description as well as in the GitHub repository. I'll have links to the documentation. But just go to creating stack and you can see at the very first line here, it says how you can do it programmatically using the Terraform provider. I just went through this and I followed it, and that's basically how I got my Terraform code for creating my stacks. Everything else in this repository is just my Terraform code that I've used in other videos, so feel free to go through it, use it yourselves, use it for just a simple, quick proof of concept for Terraform and Spacelift. Anyways, leave a comment below if you have any questions, and let me know if you've used Spacelift before and what you think about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.